This video was recorded live before a canned studio audience. It's Friday Night Movie Reviews, and here they are, Chris and Keith.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Keith.
I'm Chris.
And this is Friday Night Movie Reviews. Thank you for joining us tonight. We have another movie that we have watched, and if you watched the last review that we put in, you'll know that we actually reviewed a movie that we streamed. With this one, this falls under the category of our
rental review
series. So this is another blast from the past, like we did with the Lost Boys last week. This movie is called
Fright Night.
Fright Night. And it goes right along with our theme for the month of October, our Halloween horror theme. And this is another vampire movie. Now, we're not going to get stuck in the vampire rut. So don't watch these videos and be like, another vampire movie? Trust me.
This is the third one in the row that they've done.
Right.
Yeah.
The third vampire movie. Are they ever going to watch something else besides vampire movies? Yes, we are going to watch other things and review other horror movies besides vampire movies.
There might be a double review next week for a certain movie that might be coming out from Paramount. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned and see.
You're so cool, Brewster. If that gives you an idea which version of Fright Night we're reviewing right now.
All right. So this version that we're reviewing is the one that came out in 1985, I believe it was, right? So if you're wanting us to review the other one, too bad. We're not reviewing that one right now.
Leave us a comment if you want us to review that one.
Yes.
And if you really are on a vampire kick.
And we may actually do it. So the basic premise of this movie is you have this guy who's living in this house with his mom, all right, and it's kind of a single mom kind of situation, and he's kind of a nerdy kind of kid.
He likes watching late night horror movies,
and you get kind of a theme going on here because there's a theme with the Lost Boys as well.
Yep.
He's kind of an old horror movie fan, so he watches a lot of old horror movies, and somebody moves in next door, and the person that moves in next door, he immediately begins to suspect that this person is a vampire, because there are just certain things that happen. And one of the first things that happens that he sees right at the very beginning of the movie is two guys moving a coffin,
or what he thinks looks like a coffin,
in next door and putting it down in the basement. So that immediately starts sending up red flags for him.
Yep.
And nobody believes him. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Nobody believes the guy?
It's a vampire. Yeah. What's up with that? This guy, he only comes out at night. He always brings young women back to his house. And I think that's partly why he was spying on him. He was thinking, bringing him these beautiful women home and whatnot. And the young boy, Charlie Brewster, is the main character, has a girlfriend. And even the girlfriend's getting kind of annoyed by, you're not paying attention to me. You're always spying on your neighbor,
right,
or watching these horror movies kind of deal. And
and the thing is, what really sets it off is right when the guy moves in, suddenly there start being news reports about
missing women,
and them, when they find them, they're mutilated. So that just really sets it off for this guy that, oh yeah, my neighbor is a vampire.
Yeah, the vampire is played by Chris Sarandon. That's Susan Sarandon's ex-husband. He's also the guy that plays the detective in Child's Play 1. And it's also directed by Tom Holland, not to be confused with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, but Tom Holland, the director of Child's Play and Fright Night. So this is another one of his movies. And again, along with Child's Play, he has his own signature style of how he does movies and everything. And it worked out for this movie.
It really did. Now, If you are expecting a superior level of horror in this movie, you're probably going to be disappointed. This is a 1980s movie. It is full of 1980s cheese. All right. It has a lot of 80s style music, which I kind of like, but a lot of synthesizer type music for the horror music. But it's got a lot of it's dated.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, and I think intentionally too, I think this was meant to be more of a comedy, and it was meant to be campy and cheesy on purpose.
Right.
Because of the old movies that he's watching, with Fright Night.
Exactly.
And the reason why the movie is called Fright Night is there's a television host who hosts a show called Fright Night. And
Fright Night.
And what it is he's like a B-list actor who's not really making movies anymore, so he does this television show nightly hosting old late night horror movies.
AKA Elvira. Okay, so just kind of think along the lines of Elvira. That's kind of what this guy does. Except I don't think he sits there and makes fun of him like Elvira would.
Or if you're a child that grew up in the 90s, you know Joe Bob Briggs. He's kind of in that same kind of feel. And he's played by the guy, he was in the Planet of the Apes movies. That's who you'll know this actor from. And he plays a character named Peter Vincent, and obviously they took that from Peter Cushing's and Vincent Price and combined the two names together. So this does pay tribute to those old movies, but in an 80s style. Because like he says, this movie is very 80s. But if obviously people love the 80s, they love 80s horror, those two things go together so well. So a lot of people still have a lot of respect for this movie because of that. The special effects are definitely there, but this movie does not really dependent on scares. Some of the makeup and special effects in this though are really awesome.
Right.
Some of the ones towards the end of the movie, you're just like, okay, that still holds up.
Yeah.
And then the cover, the female vampire, not to give any spoilers about that, but like the one they use for the cover, that face will still haunt me forever.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That was pretty terrifying.
Yeah.
That was pretty terrifying. But it's what he was explaining about Peter Vincent. Peter Vincent in his show is a vampire killer. He's a vampire killer. All right. And so that's who this guy ends up turning to in order to help him out. Because he goes to the police. Detective goes over there and he ends up being made a fool of in front of the detective by the vampire's caretaker. And so it really just brings down his reputation and his believability in everybody's eyes. And so he feels like he has no choice but to turn to Peter Vincent. And so he tries to enlist Peter Vincent's help in exposing this guy as a vampire.
And, that's where a lot of the comedy element in, because this guy's not really a vampire hunter. He's just a B-list actor.
Right.
On this, cable access television show.
And so now all of a sudden he's like Chris said, he's a B-list actor. And now all of a sudden he's thrown into this situation where he's confronting a real vampire. And he thinks at first, that it's just some kind of made up thing and he doesn't really believe this guy anyway. But when a circumstance happens that actually proves it to him, it scares the bejeebies out of him. And he realizes then, this guy's real. And so he gets super scared.
And, well, if you haven't seen the movie, that's as much as we'll tell you about how it concludes. Right. They do set it up for a sequel, and there is a sequel to this, but unfortunately, because of rights disputes, it's only ever been released on VHS. So if you own a VHS copy, it's worth a lot of money. The sequel, I mean.
Right.
But this one, not so much. This one's, you can get a DVD, Blu-ray. It's all over streaming. If you're trying to find a place to either rent it or buy it, you can find it.
Don't get the sequel confused with the 2011 version that came out, because there's a 2011 version of Fright Night that did come out. So don't get Fright Night 2 and that version confused, because
they made a sequel to the remake as well.
Right.
So there's a lot of confusion with these titles, and that's been my only beef with like remakes and sequels to remakes is you got to be careful. Just make sure you check what date it came out.
Right. Right. So that's the basic premise of the movie, and that's as far as we're going to go with it because we don't want to give too much of the plot line away. But if you've already seen it, hey, you know what? Guess what? You're in part of the cult classic genre there because this is a cult classic, along with The Lost Boys and several others.
Yeah, this one I don't watch as much as The Lost Boys, but it's still nostalgic because I grew up watching this one. I usually end up watching it once a year, usually. So as far as our rating is concerned, oh yeah, and we should mention this is not for children.
No, it definitely not for kids.
It definitely has nudity, language, all that stuff.
Yeah, it does have some. I mean, it's 1980s. They were a little more loose with the with some of the adult situations. As far as like even with, I mean, this was rated R, correct?
Oh,
I think it was.
This was definitely rated R, yeah.
But it had a little more as far as like the adult situation type things go, and I would venture to say some of it is pretty cringeworthy too.
Yeah,
because of the supposed age that the girl is supposed to be, and then the vampire. So
and then because he brings these beautiful women home, he undresses one in front of the window, and it's an adult situation there. So you don't want the kids walking in on this one.
and there's language in it. There is some language in this movie. So and then of course you have the violence. And you have the horror aspect, and this one does have a few more jump scares in it than other movies do. But I mean, it's the 80s, so I mean they kind of depended on that during the 80s for horror movies.
And the makeup and special effects are there. And like I said, that image of the female vampire at the end of the movie still like is in my brain forever. That's how effective the makeup is. And this wasn't the era of CGI yet, so it's all practical, all real makeup. So it was really sitting, in front of you on that screen.
Right.
So yeah, your little ones are very sensitive. No, they definitely don't need to even walk by your bedroom while you're watching it, kind of deal.
So make sure the kids have a good video game going or a good, movie that they like to watch going in their room or whatever, and let them watch something or do something in another room while you and your significant other snuggle up on the couch or in the bed or whatever and watch this movie either in your bedroom or in the living room.
But yeah, as far as ratings go, I would probably give this one either a 7 or a 7.5 Pepsis out of 10 because like I said, to me, like Lost Boys is definitely better than this.
Right.
Like if you had to make me watch one or the other, I'm going to pick the Lost Boys.
Right.
But not to say that this movie is good, and I do recommend you watching it. But that's how many Pepsis I would give it.
Right. I'd probably be a little I'd probably be a little less and give it maybe about 7 popcorns. I wouldn't give it 7.5, but I give it 7 popcorns. And the main reason why is because it is dated. That's the main reason why, is because it's dated. And to me, the storyline just seemed a little bit choppy. And I think a lot of that has to do with the editing that they did with it. I think they edited some stuff out and kind of spliced some things together that just made it a little more choppy.
Yeah, and back then the MPAA was a lot harder on horror movies, and they were making you take things out of it and threatening to give the movie an X rating. So back then they had to kind of cut and paste a little bit. The Friday the 13th films were the ones that were the most devastated by that.
Right.
And who knows, we'll get to those eventually.
Who knows? Maybe so. But yeah, 7. I give it 7 popcorns, 7.5 Pepsis. But it is a really good movie, so you guys make sure that you do sit down and watch it. If for no other reason. Number one, just because it's Halloween, or going to be Halloween soon, and number two, because if you're my age or maybe a little bit younger, it might take you down memory lane just a little bit. You might have might be some memories there, some nostalgia along with it.
Yep.
So, yeah, just watch the movie and enjoy it. And There we go. That's our cue to go.
Yep. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Remember to hit that bell for the notification for when our next video drops. Leave us a comment in the comments. What did you think of Fright Night? Do you have any other suggestions for movies for us to review?
Would you like for us to review the newer version of Fright Night? Whatever you want. Comment and let us know. And if you didn't like it, hey, you know what? Let us know that too, and let us know why. We'll respond back to you. We'll talk to you about it. It's great. All right. Hey, we thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching the show. Tell your friends and family about us and boost us up really good. We need more. We want more subscribers and we want more comments from you. All right. Hey, enjoy your movie. We'll see you next time. Have a good night.